I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Boregard B. Butterworth. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. What mother would give her son a name like Beauregard? You know, I like to think, like in Johnny Cash's song, A Boy Named Sue, that it was just to make me tough. But you know, the jury is still out on that. Well, heck, my mama wouldn't even tell me what my middle initial B stood for. Now, if you're not familiar with this Johnny Cash song, you can Google it. But moving on, many of you do not know me, but let's fix that. I'm an evangelist and a Christian humorist. My friends call me Brother Bo, and you know, you can call me that too. Most folks know what an evangelist is. He's one who brings the good news of the gospel. Now, a Christian humorist is someone who highlights humor in Christian living and in Christian worship. Now, as to what my plans are, my plans revolve around two words: hope and joy. As I look around the world, and especially around our country, it is evident that despair, depression, and loneliness are on the increase, and hope and desire for a better life are on the decrease. I believe social media, woke cultural policies, and the recent pandemic have made the situation even more critical. But our collective loss of hope has been happening for many years. I believe it tracks our moral and spiritual decline. It can dramatically be seen in lower life expectancy for young people in our country. Suicides, drug overdoses, and violence are some of the leading causes of death in this age group. But do you know what these three all have in common? They are all preventable and not inevitable. These three and COVID have been mainly responsible for a drop in our life expectancy from 76.7 years in 2019 to 74.2 years in 2021. And that's a 3.4% drop. This is the first time our life expectancy has significantly decreased since the founding of our country. Now, I don't want to bore you with a bunch of statistics, but I do think a few are required to give context for the situation we're in. The U.S. is losing over 100,000 lives a year to drug overdoses, with over half coming from drugs laced with fentanyl. Xylazine, a horse tranquilizer, has become the new designer drug with devastating results. It causes the flesh to rot off the bone. And unfortunately, many young people are succumbing to these designer drugs with terrible consequences. Meth is and has been a problem for many years in our country. In 2021, over 1% of the U.S. adult population admitted to using meth in some form. The meth death rate from 2015 to 2019 has increased over 200%. Suicide is a leading cause of death for teens and young adults between the ages of 10 and 34. And over 25% of adults aged 18 to 24 reported having seriously considered suicide in the past month. Also, homelessness is rising in our country and is disproportionately affecting young people. All of this is giving rise to a hopeless younger generation, not only in this country, but also in the world. Now, our older generation is not faring much better. I believe without hope, there is no pathway to joy. Hope and joy make life worth living. I believe one of the symptoms of loss of hope is loss of humor. Think of something. What is the one trait that all dystopian books and movies, like The Walking Dead, the Terminator series, and the Hunger Games series all have in common? They are high on despair and devoid of hope and humor. I believe humor is one of the best prescriptions to open us up to hope and joy. Now, as a Christian humorist, I hope to entertain and inspire people to live hopeful lives. I wish to be a purveyor of humor. Now, a number of Christian humorists have blazed a trail before me, the likes of Wendy Bagwell, Ray Stevens, Jerry Jordan, and Jerry Clowers. And how can we forget Flip Wilson? Now, I plan on creating original stories as well as taking on some of their timeless storylines, putting my twist on them, and making them my own. Now, being a Christian humorist will have its risk. I will invariably offend people, even though it is not my intention. That goes with the comedic territory. I full well expect that in today's environment, I will be canceled probably more times than I can ever count. I even expect some not so pleasant emails and texts. But I believe the task at hand, to give people hope in a world full of despair, is worth the price. Now, I'm putting a program together that I have entitled, I Know God Has a Sense of Humor Because He Made Me. I will be releasing some of the stories that are in the program on YouTube as they become available. After that, I hope to have the entire program available and coming to a town near you. Now, my character is that of a sometimes over-the-top evangelist and is meant to first entertain and then to inspire. Sometimes you may see me with purple or green hair that may match my suit or my story. This is all meant to grab people's attention, put them at ease, and then entertain and inspire them. Now, I'm basically a storyteller. Most of my stories will be fictional, that is, made up. A few will be nonfiction, which is about real events and usually from the Bible. When a story is nonfiction, I will let you know. Now, here's my disclaimer for all my fictional stories. Any resemblance to actual events or locales or persons, living or dead, is entirely coincidental. Now, all of this will be under the umbrella of a new ministry, Matzchik Ministries. Now, the word Matzchik is Hebrew and means humor or laughter. Our mission statement is to entertain and inspire people through humor to lead more hopeful and joyful lives. A website will be up and running soon and will be the focal point of the ministry. Now, if you have a mind and a heart too, please pray for this ministry and for me. If you have a continuing interest in what I'm doing and where I'm going, please subscribe to this channel and hit the like button. But before I end, I'd like to say something on a personal note. It is obvious that I am far, far from the prettiest flower in the garden. All I have to work with is what God gave me. Now, some would say that's not very much, and I would tend to agree. I believe, though, that I have a gift to tell funny stories that can hopefully point people to Christ. Only time will tell if this is indeed true. Now, one comment I've received is that if I'm supposed to be humorous, this video is not that very humorous. Now, this is on purpose. I did not feel like I could make light of the mission statement to help people lead more hopeful and joyful lives through humor. But I promise you that most of the videos in the future will be much lighter and more humorous. I also realize that my demeanor may sometimes come across as being a bit on the serious side, even as though I am telling what I think are funny stories. I do need to work on that. So hopefully, a more humorous and animated delivery will come later. I'm just a messenger, and at that, a very imperfect one. The message is what is important, what can bring us hope and joy. In closing, I want to say, with all the sincerity I can muster, that I love each and every one of you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about that. Nothing that you can say or do will ever change that. All I can do is follow Jesus' greatest commandment, and that is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, and then love your neighbor as yourself. This is why I am doing what I am doing. Thank you for your time, and I hope we can meet again. But before I leave, I know my introduction has been a bit on the serious side for reasons I previously discussed. I would like to leave you with a humorous short story that I've titled The Squirrels. I hope you enjoy it. Have you ever noticed that in the movies and on TV, most of the action heroes have sidekicks? Batman has Robin, The Lone Ranger has Tonto, Han Solo has Chewbacca, and for those who can remember, Roy Rogers has Gabby Hayes. Now, my name is Brother Bo, and I want to introduce you to my sidekick, Henry. Now, Henry may not seem very intimidating, but trust me, you do not want to meet him in a dark alley if you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. Now, folks, say hi to Henry. Henry, say hi to the folks. What's that, Henry? You say you're too shy to say hi. Well, at least give the folks one of your big, sexy smiles. Now, the following fictional story I'm going to tell involves some of Henry's friends and relatives. Now, after a particularly mild winter, the quaint little town of Roaring Springs became infested with squirrels in the late spring. Because the local churches had the best trees, the squirrels often congregated, pun intended, near them. And this is what each church decided to do about the pesky animals. Now, the Presbyterian Church called a meeting to decide what to do about the squirrel infestation. After much prayer and consideration, they concluded that the squirrels were predestined to be there and they shouldn't interfere with God's divine will. So before long, there were many more squirrels than parishioners at the Sunday morning worship service. After the offering plates had been passed around, a lot more nuts than paper money and coins had been received. I guess you can say the squirrels were nuts about the church. Now, at the Baptist church, the squirrels had taken an interest in the baptistry. The deacons met and decided to put in a water slide on the baptistry in hopes that the squirrels would drown themselves. Well, the squirrels liked the slide and unfortunately knew instinctively how to swim. So, twice as many squirrels showed up the following week. Now, the Lutheran and Methodist churches did not agree on much, but they did agree that they were not in a position to harm any of God's creatures. So they humanely trapped their squirrels and set them free near the Baptist church. 2 weeks later, the squirrels were back when the Baptists took down the water slide. Now, the Episcopalians tried a much more unique approach by setting out pans of whiskey around the church in an effort to kill the squirrels by alcohol poisoning. They sadly learned how much damage a band of drunken squirrels can do. Now, the Pentecostal, what's that, Henry? You're hungry. Well, just hold your horses. We can eat after the story's over. Now, where was I? I know. Yes, the Pentecostal church decided to take a spiritual approach. They assembled the elders and laid hands on them. In turn, the elders were instructed to lay hands on the squirrels and to attempt by prayer to persuade them to leave. Well, it turns out that the only ones persuaded were the elders, and that was to go immediately to the local emergency room. The diagnosis was small rodent bites to the hands. Now, the Catholic Church came up with a very creative strategy. They baptized all the squirrels and made them members of the church. Now, they only see them on Christmas and Easter. Not much was heard from the Jewish synagogue. They took the first squirrel and circumcised him, and they haven't seen a squirrel since. Henry, where'd you go? Has anyone seen Henry? Henry, I thought we were going out for pizza and nuts. My treat. Henry, come back. I promise we won't go near the synagogue. There you are, Henry. Yes, I promise. You hungry? Good. Let's go eat.